What it do, YouTube? I'm back with another motherfucking video, man. This video is called "The David Case is Worse Than We Thought" by Blackie Speaks. Goddamn. Yeah, man. If you ain't heard about the motherfucking David case, you must have been asleep under a motherfucking rock, man. Apparently, they found a girl in the Tesla in his car in fucking Los Angeles or some shit. He was out in fucking who fucking knows. The girl was underage. She was running away from home and shit. The shit is all choppy and fucked up, man. Yeah, we gonna do a little rest to that, man. You already know what the fuck going on. Get you a little thunky yonky yonky. Shit, I ain't gonna do too much talking. Let's get it.
Now, most people have already heard about this story. Popular singer David, spelled D4vd, was arrested in connection with the death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez. But what's come out since then changes everything. The motive, the timeline, and what happened the last night Celeste was ever seen, when David invited her to his home in the Hollywood Hills, and she never came back.
Celeste, a 14-year-old at that time, went to Mr. Burke's house in the Hollywood Hills. She was never heard from again.
And months later, in September 2025, that's when everything changed.
Police say the car had been at the lot for a couple of days. When asked about reports the vehicle is registered to 20-year-old singer David.
Because inside a car registered to the singer, investigators made a discovery. Remains found in the front trunk, unidentified at the time. After sitting there for months, it was eventually revealed that those remains belonged to 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, a teenage girl from Riverside County, California, who had initially been reported missing back in April 2024. Celeste had disappeared out of Lake.
He look like the type nigga do shit like that, I ain't gonna lie.
Hernandez, a teenage girl from Riverside County, California.
He like the type nigga do that shit, bro. I don't know if it's the hair or the hairstyle or the neck. Like, it's just all the shit added up. Like, if he had this and that, okay, everything added up, plus the fit, everything just make it.
Who had initially been reported missing back in April 2024. Celeste had disappeared out of Lake Elsinore that same month. According to authorities, her family searched, put out flyers, shared her photos, asking anyone with information to come forward, hoping their daughter would be found. The family had reported Celeste missing from her hometown of Lake Elsinore, about 70 miles outside of Los Angeles. She was just a 7th grader, and Celeste had run away before, and at one point, she did return home. But after leaving again, this time, she never came back. For months, there were questions, and no answers about her whereabouts. But eventually, in September...
They tripping, bro. Months. My child gonna miss in months. I don't know. I'm gonna call somebody. I'm gonna call CPS. I'm gonna file my own report. Like, we gotta get that shit together. How the fuck months? I would have let, if anything, CPS come get you, like come get her if anything, but months
2025,
without even talking to
they
her.
would learn the truth. That Celeste was no longer missing.
Then the girl died.
She had been
Look at
killed.
this shit.
And as her family was continuing to come to terms with that, things were only just beginning to unfold. Within 48 hours of Celeste being officially identified, investigators made their next move, executing a search warrant overnight at a home in the Hollywood Hills area, where David, D4vd, Burke, had been living. And from that point, the investigation started to unravel. But for the public, very little was known. Details were limited in this case, and questions kept coming up, until recently, because just recently, David was arrested in connection with the case, which sent shockwaves across social media and raised even more questions. But now, after all this time, the case against David is starting to become a lot clearer. We now know that he's now facing a first-degree murder charge, and now we actually have his mugshot. Let's just take a second and really look at this.
You like a taker.
We now also have what they say was the motive, a timeline of what allegedly happened, and the evidence they claim to have. And when you put all of it together, this case becomes a lot worse than people thought. Now, to really understand how this even got to that point, we have to go back.
He was born in 2005. I ain't saying I'm no goddamn spring chicken, but what the fuck? He look older than me, nigga. What the fuck? Like he take bond. All this shit, man.
A lot worse than people thought. Now, to really understand how this even got to that point, we have to go back to on or about April 23rd, 2025, when, according to investigators, David invited Celeste to his home in the Hollywood Hills area. Celeste arrived, and according to investigators, this was the last time she was known to be alive. Now, up until this point, there had been speculation about the nature of his involvement with Celeste. And it's important to be clear here, we're talking about a grown man and a minor. According to investigators, that is no longer speculation. They allege that David was sexually involved with Celeste, and that this began when she was under the age of 14.
During the course of our investigation,
Yeah, that is
detectives
bad.
learned that she had been involved in a sexual relationship with Mr. Burke when she was a minor and he was an adult.
But it doesn't stop there, because according to the criminal complaint, investigators say Celeste had at one point been living with David, and in their words, he had recurring access to her, which meant this wasn't something distant or limited. This was direct access over a period of time. Now, when it comes to that last night Celeste was alive, this is when they say things took a much darker turn. They allege that at some point after Celeste arrived to David's home, she threatened to expose the relationship between the two, including the fact that it began when she was underage, which David of course knew could seriously damage his career. At the time, David was
That's
a
why he
rising
killed her.
mainstream artist, and
What?
just 2 days earlier, he had announced the Withered World Tour, a global tour set to take him across multiple countries as his career was continuing to expand, and that detail matters. According to investigators, this is where the motive comes in. See, investigators believe that once Celeste became a threat to David, after she threatened to expose their relationship, the situation escalated. And what happened next, they say, is where things went downhill.
This murder was committed for financial gain. As the evidence will show in court, the financial gain was for Mr. Burke to maintain his very lucrative musical career that Celeste was threatening.
They allege that after she threatened to expose him, the situation escalated into her murder. However, it didn't stop there. They allege that on or about May 5th, 2025, Celeste's remains were further altered. Her remains were later found inside a vehicle connected to David, of course, that we know, where they had been left for months before finally being discovered at an impound lot in September 2025 in Los Angeles.
Yeah, this nigga a dumbass. I ain't saying catch no B, let alone, rest her soul, catch no B at all. But bro, you left her in the car. What the fuck? You left anybody in the car? This nigga was living in fucking La La Land. He thought he was gonna get off or something, and this shit was just gonna disappear.
And the
Or he could
evidence they
blame it on
have is
somebody.
what they say connects him to what happened to Celeste. Now, getting into the specifics, this criminal complaint against David also includes special circumstances. And these are very important because they make the
Special
case
circumstances.
significantly more serious. According to the complaint, one of those is murder for financial gain. Another is the murder of a witness, with Celeste being considered that witness. And the third is what's called lying in wait, which means police believe the act was carried out in a deliberate and concealed manner. The complaint also alleges that David personally used a deadly weapon, described as a sharp instrument, in what happened to Celeste. In other words, they allege a sharp object was used in the killing of Celeste. Now that lying in wait part, that's important to understand, because in legal terms, it's not just about what happened, it's about how it allegedly happened. Lying in wait basically means someone waits, watches, and then carries out a surprise attack. In other words, it suggests planning and it suggests intent. Now if you try to picture this for a second, Celeste shows up.
The more you know. I never knew that shit. Lying in wait. That's smart ass shit. I remember that shit.
To the home she was
God.
invited to by David, not knowing what she's actually walking into. And according to authorities, what happened next was anything but expected. They allege this wasn't random, but something that involved waiting, concealment, and a deliberate act in what happened to Celeste. And legally, that makes the case much more serious. Because when or if prosecutors are able to prove something like that, it can elevate the charges and significantly increase the potential consequences. Now, to really understand how this even got to that point, we have to go back to
Ugly
2023,
as shit.
when this situation, not relationship, situation involving David and Celeste was already developing behind the scenes. At this point, authorities say the two were already sexually involved, while Celeste was still under the age of 14, but the full extent of it is still not entirely clear. What we do know is this. According to the criminal complaint, between September 7th, 2023 and September 7th, 2024, David was reportedly involved with Celeste during that time. And this wasn't a one-time situation. Prosecutors allege that this was ongoing over an extended period of time. It's also during this time that investigators say Celeste had at one point been living under the same roof as David. Now, one thing that's still not entirely clear at the time of me recording this video is how exactly Celeste being considered a witness fits into everything we're talking about right now. Although this is included in the complaint, they haven't fully explained what they're specifically referring to, or exactly what she may have been a witness to. Now, based on what's been alleged so far and what we know so far, you can start to piece everything together yourself in your head, if you get what I mean, right? Especially considering that they've already said she was threatening to expose the relationship. So one can only assume that she was a witness in her own case.
That's definitely
You
why
get
I
what I'm
did
saying?
that.
But we don't know that yet. So as of right now, that part of the case hasn't been fully laid out publicly.
The details of the allegations that have made, particularly with that special circumstance, will be produced in court.
Now we're at a point where we know, according to the authorities,
man.
that there was an ongoing situation between the two, that Celeste at one point was living under the same roof as David, and that he had direct and recurring access to her. And on that final night, she threatened to expose that. And from there, they allege everything escalated, leading to her murder. Now, one of the biggest questions people have been asking is, why did all this take so long? Why did it take this long for the police to make an arrest? And according to the authorities, a big part of that comes down to the condition of Celeste's remains. Because of how much time had passed between her death and when she was unfortunately discovered in the manner she was discovered, it delayed the medical examiner's ability to determine a clear cause of death. And that also meant that crucial evidence had either degraded or completely disappeared over time, unfortunately. On top of that, investigators were also dealing with something else, a massive amount of false information that was spreading online. If you guys remember, when the story first broke, things were pretty chaotic. There was a lot being said, and the majority of it was actually not accurate. And even a lot of very popular media outlets ended up pushing information that wasn't fully verified at all. And because law enforcement had to sort through all of that information while trying to piece together what was done to Celeste, it made this investigation that much more difficult, and ultimately, that's what added all this time to it. Now, another key reason why this case took time is because, according to the authorities, there was
I think social media was helping that shit. I seen hella social media exposing all that shit, like the lyrics word for word. The real fans of David, heartbroken. They should have knew what the fuck going on instantly.
no direct eyewitness.
And then it was Snapchats and subreddits and shit, and like somebody named Gus, shit like that. You got to do your homework, but this shit going on.
Who actually saw what happened to Celeste. And on top of that, they also didn't have any clear footage that directly shows David committing the act. So what that meant was investigators had to rely on something else, a full and extremely thorough investigation. They went through digital evidence, they went through forensic evidence, and every lead they could find, while also speaking to witnesses. And according to the authorities, not everyone they spoke to was cooperative. So before bringing any charges, they wanted the highest level of confirmation possible based on everything they had collected. And that brings us to another question people have been asking. What makes them so confident that they can actually prove this case? It comes down to the totality of the evidence. They say they have a combination of physical evidence, forensic evidence, and digital evidence that they plan to present in court. In fact, they say the amount of evidence collected totals over 40 terabytes. Not gigabytes, terabytes. And based on everything they've gathered, they believe they can prove their...
They should have stopped that one, bro. They should have stopped that one, bro. This nigga was out too long, eating good, doing what the fuck he wanted. Probably fucking something else, man, doing some other bullshit. They should have been got his ass for real. And they know they wrong. They trying to really cover up their ass like, they had to get more evidence. Bullshit.
case against David beyond a reasonable...
I done seen him come grab niggas for less. Real shit.
doubt. Now, at the same time, his legal team is pushing to move things forward, requesting a preliminary hearing within the next 10 days. Right now, we don't know exactly what that evidence is, or what it looks like in detail. And anyone who tells you that they have that evidence is obviously lying. But that's something we're likely going to learn very soon. What we do know is that based on everything that's been laid out so far, this case is way worse than we thought. And we're only just starting to see what it looks like. Now, with all that being said, I think it's important we stay focused on what actually happened here. A child lost her life. And that's something that shouldn't get lost in all these very grim and dark details, or all the noise around this case. Celeste had her whole life ahead of her. It was taken from her, and it was all taken from her in a situation she should have never been in to begin with. And that's not something anyone can put on her, because Celeste was a child, and children aren't capable of understanding the kind of situations they're being placed in. It's just tragic, and it's a reminder of how important it is that we protect children in this world and take situations like this seriously. Rest in peace to Celeste Rivas, and I hope justice is served for what was done to this little girl. I'm out. Now, most people have already heard about this story. Popular singer.
Long live Celeste, man. That shit fucked up, man. I hope that nigga don't ever see light, man. That nigga need to stay fucking put up, man. Bury his ass. They need to make his ass a bitch when he get locked up. Beat the shoes off his ass every day. Take all the money on he getting. He tried to call home. It was a video. Slap his out in the head. Pick up the phone. Say, what up, baby? It's his mama. It don't even matter. Do that to him. Like, I don't say do that to nobody, but do that to him, bro. Niggas that do shit like this. This shit fucked up, man. Shout out Blackie Speaks, man. It's a good ass video, man. And drop a like on the app support, man. Spreading awareness to this bullshit.